Hi again and happy Friday. Okay, guys. So, where we left off yesterday was Mama and Esperanza were looking for Papa. They were just searching the line of land and sky, seeing if they could see even dust kicking up from horses. But they didn't see anything. And Mama said that she had sent Alfonso and Miguel, characters we don't really know yet. We'll learn more about them. And that she sent these two characters to go find them, and they're just going to go wait inside. So we're going to pick up right there where we left off. Tea was ready in Papa's study, and so was Abuelita. Come, mi nieta, my granddaughter, and said Abuelita, holding up yarn and crochet hooks. I am starting a new blanket and will teach you the zigzag. Esperanza's grandmother, whom everyone called Abuelita, lived with them and was a smaller, older, more wrinkled version of Mama. She looked very distinguished, wearing a respectable black dress, the same gold loops she wore in her ears every day, and her white hair pulled back into a bun at the nape of her neck. But Esperanza loved her more for her capricious ways than for her propriety. Abuelita might host a group of ladies for a formal tea in the afternoon. Then, after they had gone, be found wandering barefoot in the grapes with a book in her hand, quoting poetry to the birds. So if I look at that, I could see that her propriety is her being proper, and her capricious ways is her being a little different, walking barefoot in the grapes with a book and talking to birds. That's completely different than being prim and proper. So that kind of explains those two words to us. Okay, let's continue. Although some things were always the same with Abuelita, a lace-edged handkerchief peeking out from beneath the sleeve of her dress. Others were surprising. A flower in her hair, a beautiful stone in her pocket, or a philosophical saying salted into her conversation. When Abuelita walked into a room, everyone scrambled to make her comfortable. Even Papa would give up his chair for her. Esperanza complained, "Must we always crochet to take our minds off worry?" She sat next to her grandmother anyway, smelling her ever-present aroma of garlic, garlic, face powder, and peppermint. "What happened to your finger?" asked Abuelita. "A big thorn," said Esperanza. Abuelita nodded and said thoughtfully, "No hay rosa sin espinas." There is no rose without thorns. Esperanza smiled, knowing that Abuelita wasn't talking about flowers at all, but there was no life without difficulties. She watched the silver crochet needle dance back and forth in her grandmother's hand. When a strand of hair fell into her lap, Abuelita picked it up and held it against the yarn and stitched it into the blanket. "Esperanza, in this way my love and good wishes will be in the blanket forever. Now watch. 10 stitches up to the top of the mountain. Add 1 stitch, 9 stitches down to the bottom of the valley. Skip 1. Esperanza picked up her own crochet needle and copied Abuelita's movements, and then looked at her own crocheting. The tops of her mountains were lopsided, and the bottoms of her valleys were all bunched up. Abuelita smiled, reached over, and pulled the yarn, unraveling all of Esperanza's rows. "Do not be afraid to start over," she said. Esperanza sighed and began again with 10 stitches. Softly humming, Hortensia, the housekeeper, came in with a plate of small sandwiches. She offered one to Mama. Hortensia set the tray down and brought a shawl and wrapped it protectively around Mama's shoulders. Esperanza couldn't remember a time when Hortensia had not taken care of them. She was a Zapotec Indian with a short, solid figure and blue-black hair in a braid down her back. Esperanza watched the two women look up into the dark and couldn't help but think that Hortensia was almost the opposite of Mama. "Don't worry so much," said Hortensia. "Alfonso and Miguel will find him." Alfonso, Hortensia's husband, was el jefe, the boss of all the field workers, and Papa's compañero, his close friend and companion. He had the same dark skin and small stature as Hortensia, and Esperanza thought his round eyes, long eyelids, and drooping mustache made him look like a forlorn puppy. And he was anything but sad, though. He loved the land as Papa did, and it had been the two of them working side by side who had resurrected the neglected rose garden that had been in the family for generations. Alfonso's brother worked in the United States, so Alfonso always talked about going there someday. But he stayed in Mexico because of his attachment to Papa and El Rancho de las Rosas. Miguel was Alfonso and Hortensia's son, and he and Esperanza had played together since they were babies. At 16, he was already taller than both of his parents. He had their dark skin and Alfonso's big, sleepy eyes and thick eyebrows that Esperanza always thought would grow into one. It was true that he knew the farthest reaches of the ranch better than anyone. Since Miguel was a young boy, Papa had taken him to parts of the property that even Esperanza and Mama had never seen. When she was younger, Esperanza used to complain, "Why does he get to go and not me?" Papa would say, "Because he knows how to fix things, and he's learning the job." Miguel would look at her before riding off with Papa. He would give her a taunting smile. But what Papa said was true. Miguel had patience and quiet strength and could figure out how to fix anything, plows and tractors, especially anything with a motor. Several years ago, when Esperanza was still a young girl, Mama and Papa had been discussing boys from good families whom Esperanza should meet one day. She couldn't imagine being matched with someone she had never met, so she announced, "I'm going to marry Miguel." Mama had laughed at her and said, "You'll feel differently as you get older." "No, I won't," Esperanza had said stubbornly. But now that she was a young woman, she understood that Miguel was the housekeeper's son and she was the ranch owner's daughter, and between them ran a deep river. Esperanza stood on one side and Miguel stood on the other, and the river could never be crossed. In a moment of self-importance, Esperanza told all of this to Miguel. Since then, he had spoken only a few words to her. When their paths crossed, he nodded and said politely, "My queen," but nothing more. There was no teasing or laughing or talking about little things. Esperanza pretended to not care, though she secretly wished she had never told Miguel about about the river. Okay, so I'm going to leave us there because we're already really long into this video. But when we get back tomorrow, Mama is pacing at the window. Or I guess Monday, because it's Friday. So I will see you on Monday. Y'all have a great weekend, and I guess I'll see you soon. Bye, guys.